All right, we are live. Hello, everybody, to exciting another episode of Comics de la Muerte, aka Death Comics. I'm your host, Crimson Owl Comics, Ronnie Gunter, and my co-host, Frog Breaker Studios, Jason Alexander.
What's up, y'all? How's it going
Yeah.
tonight?
And this is issue 4 of Young and the Dead. So, tell me, my friend, what did you think of this issue?
Again, another fun. It was a little bit longer of a chapter, but it was still a pretty fast-paced chapter. The art was, after the first few pages, the panels got a little bit smaller, so the action was like going really, really quick. Just your typical 80s, trapped in a mall, trying to get out, getting away from zombies type. But no, I loved it. I thought it was a blast.
Yeah. Kind of remind me of that 80s horror movie, what was it, Mall Chop or something like that. Like, I don't know I can't remember the exact name of the title, but what it was is that these teenagers were basically doing drugs and sleeping with each other, and instead of regular cops, they had robot cops, and the AI system got struck by electricity, so the robotic cops went haywire, and their stun and their stun system went haywire. Instead of went from stun, it went to destroy. So they're basically running away from all these like robots that are trying to kill them.
I've never heard of this movie before, but
Yeah.
It sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was called Mall Chop or something like that.
Mall Chop.
Yeah.
Mall Chop.
Yeah.
Man, maybe we should review that next. That sounds like
right. Just have a second channel where we just review horror movies. That'd be fun.
I'm with it.
All right.
Awesome.
We got a lot of people in the some chats going on today, man.
Oh, word.
Got Frank.
What's going on, Frank?
Got Yaun. How you pronounce her name?
Hello. How's it going?
Hello.
I'm trying to get my YouTube on, because if we got some chats, I want to be able to see him at least. Here we go.
Johan.
All right.
Yeah, that's it. Johan. Yeah.
It was a fun chapter. Scott's artwork is still pretty.
Oh, had Captain Courage by. Oh yeah. Thank you, Captain Courage.
Yeah, thank you, Captain Courage. I appreciate it. Joyful Jason. I don't know. I would hope I would be a little bit more intense than joyful sometimes, but I'll take it. I appreciate it. All right, here we go. Now I can see the chat. Yeah. So yeah, any particular thoughts about any particular pages or anything, Ronnie?
I just really loved the beginning shots. Like always with him, is that with him, I could tell that he's just really big into, environmental shots. Like I'm a big sucker for that too. It's like, instead of showing like a bunch of character shots, he wants to show like the environment. Like
understand where you are.
Yeah.
Understand where this is establishing this chapter to take place. So it's like now you get a feel for, like, not only is it a building, but it's a big building, and it's a building that, without looking at words, it's a building that has a broadcast tower, and on the inside it kind of looks like a hospital. So it's like it's still working to put you in the right frame of mind. Like, it's all these little things that artists do, and especially artists who know what they're writing. They know what they want to accomplish. Yeah. They can say so much without really even like putting a sentence of dialogue in the first few pages. Yeah. And his sound effects are really, really good. Like, it was something that I said a lot in the Junji Ito books, but Scott's sound effects work perfect where they are in the book, and you can hear them, you can feel the ones you're supposed to feel. He does a good job of matching his panels with the sound effects too. So it's like, if there's a sharp sound, you get it. You understand that, like, this is a different sound. Like the one of the earlier chapters where the arrow hit, and you could tell that the panel was just tilted. It's all these different little things that you can do that are a part of storytelling, but it's not exactly the
Yeah,
writing or the
I
art.
just love that he decided to have all 3 panel shots of the first page just be, you know, of just the building, like, you know, the big far bird's view shot of like, okay, here's the building of where the kids are at, and you have all these zombies at, basically showing that this town is at the point where it went from like a small group of people turning to zombies to now like a full zombie apocalypse, to like almost a whole entire city or whatever population is at isn't infected, to now, okay, here we have a satellite, and now we have destruction of, you know, glass, windows, you know, you name it.
Yeah, this big established building is affected by this apocalypse that's happening. But it's probably not even nearly the purpose that it was at first, but it's kind of like one of those buildings that you look at as kind of like a last stand type fortress, and now it's fallen. Like, you established that, yes, this big building is not impenetrable by what's going on in the story. Like, it's still affected, but no. And it's, you know, it goes on to the elevator. You know, Scott always has done in every chapter of this book, added like a little new wrinkle to what zombies are. You know, whether it be in the last chapter, the zombie that took a shot to the head and started to turn back human a little bit, or like this one, like we were talking about before, where you mentioned like the zombies that are able to use the elevator in this one. These are all things that, you know, if it's known about zombies before this, nobody's ever really expounded on it, but it's enough to say, I have a zombie book, but my contribution is still just a little bit different, which is, that's all you can really ask for, because every story's been told.
And that brings me back to, I'm having a brain fart today. I took my muscle relaxer pills. Frank, what's that zombie movie where they're able to still remember, like they're able to talk? I'm growing a brain fart here. Where they're able to say brains, because in that movie,
that's the George Romero. That's Night of the Living Dead. Yeah,
Night of the Living Dead. That reminds me of that 80s movie, because they're still able to like call the policemen and tell them, bring more cops, bring more medics. So, you know, Return of the Living Dead, as Frank says in the chat, you know, it reminds me, even Scott, he's here. Return of the Living Dead. Thank you, Scott. Yes. Like when Scott, you know, that reference of these zombies having, hey, I could still use the elevator. That reminds me of that movie, because I love that movie, you know. And I think they actually made a sequel to that movie, where like when the guys are asking him who's the president, and the person gave like a president that died like years ago, you know.
Probably died when he died, like,
pretty much.
Like, that's what he remembers as
president.
So you know,
really
as
great
the story
stuff
goes on, you end up getting to, it's the classic standoff. One character has to stay behind and wait for the schematics or whatever it is, and then the other characters have to plan the escape, you know. So it's, like I said, it's pretty cool to see pacing in action. Like, you talk about it and you know it's important, but you don't always see a way to just kind of nail it. Like, you got small panels, big panels on the same page, boom, 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 boom.
Where people could get that, they could get it at
circworks.com. That's it.
Put in the plug-in. Yep. Really good stuff.
Yeah, so take us through the
let me just, and I gotta bring up this panel shot just because it's unique, for the fact is that it's a sideways panel. You know which one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
I gotta find it. I just lost it. There it is. Ooh, I just like it because most comic book pages I see, they're always the same angle, but I really like this because, you know, artistically, this does a lot better for you know, in this angle. I mean, this is just done really beautifully,
Right.
and you know, oh man, and this just goes back to the whole, you know, you don't always have to have like the same boxes like divided up. You can have
No.
boxes on top of each other, you
Right.
know,
And
showing the buzzer there, and just like here with the zombies using the elevator and them asking questions, you know, and they're just freaking out trying to like hoard off
right.
the zombies.
They're
And this
learning
just
as
goes
they're
back
going.
in,
Like
and this
you
just
can
goes back
tell.
into the thing like what. Oh, go ahead. I'm cutting you
No, I
off
was gonna
there.
say it's just you can tell that they're learning as they're going, and it's like just the way that the panels are stacked on top of each other. It just kind of lends to like the chaotic moment. It just it's all like just I guess
Yeah.
just kind of like we've been trying to say at the same time, which I'm sorry about, but we there's
No,
just
it's all right.
appreciation for it's production. I guess
Mhm.
composition is the better word to use with it being comics, but like this is
Yeah.
like just it's such a well produced story because it uses
Mhm.
things that you don't
Yeah.
that like I said that aren't the dialogue and aren't the actual in panel
Mhm.
artwork to help tell the story. So
Yeah.
it's just another strong chapter. I'm I love it.
Mhm.
Great facial expressions.
Yeah.
You know, the dad is trying to get he knows to try to get to the kids, and the kids are at least trying to put it
Mhm.
together so that they can make a run for it too. So it's just that consistent.
Yeah, it's one of those
You
things that
nail
I
the
really.
formula. You know what I mean? Like once you nail the formula and the story's good,
Mhm.
you got a good story. Like you just have a good story, and then like this nails it. And there's I don't know,
It's
like
a
this is what you do it for. Like
it's a
it's a
great
story like
story,
this.
and a fact that it's just like watching a episode of Game of Thrones or anything like that, where you have different characters in different places, and he does it so well, where it's like, okay, this character's off doing this character's off doing that, but you're not losing focus and forgot what the other character is doing. You
Right.
know what?
Yeah. You can appreciate both stories
Mhm.
individually, but you
Yeah,
know that both of these stories will fit together. Like you
yeah,
haven't gotten every
they're gonna
single
meet at the
piece yet,
end.
but yeah, they're gonna meet at the end. But they're
Yeah.
not relying. You know, Scott didn't rely on one story to make it
Hmm.
better than the other. And
Yeah.
I think that it was smart to not split the story between the dad and the kids 50-50
Hmm.
because you could have overly technical the book with the dad having a lot of explanation. So it's like he has some answers, but you're almost like begging for those few panels that he's in because that's where you're finding out what's going on. It's like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
kids are fighting it, but
Hmm.
this part tells you what's going on. It's just
Yeah.
it's well played. It's a very strategic book. Like
Hmm.
it's where a lot of my questions that I have for Scott come from. So I just
And
got
I gotta bring up this page just because this page I really, really like, because this is where they get back into more fighting with the zombies,
yeah.
and it's just really good. Like
Right.
this one here, I just love the whole like, oh,
Look at that
the whole,
face.
yeah, it's the whole gore aspect of it. Just great
You know, and
stuff.
like even this, and I don't know if anybody other than my weirdo brain sees it, but it's just another one of those 80s
Hmm.
things. It's like sometimes Scott's zombies remind me of the Soggies from the Captain Crunch commercials. Like, 'cause those were like ghouly things,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's just another one of those things. It's like
Hmm.
once you get in the mindset of 80s, which anybody who writes
Yeah.
a good period piece will put you in the mindset of where
But
this is happening.
but
You
here's
start to
the
just remember all these things you haven't thought about, and
but
it's
here's
really
the great
cool.
thing. It's like a horror where it's not like too grotesque, but it's like not like too kiddyish. You know what I'm saying?
This
It's
has
grotesque enough. Like,
right.
this right here, you know, that's horrifying that that's going to scare any kid right there. This shot right there. But
So
that's a beautiful shot.
I think I think that what Scott did was something that I always dug that Todd McFarlane said was, you know, you write, even when you write a comic book
Mm-hmm.
that's geared at that 17-year-old, you still kind of want to make sure that the 12-year-old who picks up that book is like, oh man, this is cool. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Mm-hmm.
it can't be too much, but it can't feel kiddie either, because it won't get them. But it's
Yeah.
like, this is the right amount of everything. It's kids fighting. It's like on purpose gross zombie monsters who
Mm-hmm.
are still people that you might try to help, or people that you might have even recognized.
Yeah.
You might recognize your substitute teacher as a zombie, and because this is all also in this rather small community, so it's like most of these people, these kids have seen around town, so
Mm-hmm.
it just there's just a stamp of relatability, and the suspension of disbelief has to come from the right place. And I think that he gets it. Well, obviously he gets it because he wrote the book, but there's a difference. Like, he gets how to catch your eye no
Oh
matter
yeah.
what level. Because as a 40-year-old, I appreciate this book,
Mm-hmm.
but my 10-year-old is not ready for it. But I know that he, on sight, he would think it was cool, even
Yeah,
though
because
it's not necessarily in his age range yet.
mm-hmm.
He would have an eye. He would have an eye for it, and that's mission accomplished. That's a pretty wide age gap, and
Mm-hmm.
it can entertain both of us equally.
Yeah, because now next the stepsister, who clearly is a teenager on her moped, she stops at a gas station and she's gassing up and she's like, "Oh, hey, there's no one here. Let me steal a bunch of stuff." You know, pretty much.
That's
And then
80s trouble. That's asking for
yeah.
trouble in 1985.
And
It
then
really is.
right? And then she throws like I guess a slice of soda at him, and another awesome fight scene there. Yeah, I mean it's just a really cool concept to
Yep.
really like see. I mean this I I really like this comic. I mean the last one had like a really great action scenes in it, but this one had a lot of action in it too. Just because you got the chance to see the older sister, the young kids, and even like the older guy uh at the arcade like do a lot of fighting here.
Right.
And yeah, it was
Also,
really cool.
Slice was 85% better than Sprite ever was. Just
Yeah.
as an aside,
Yeah.
it really was. It actually had like a fruit flavor. It didn't rely on that like Sprite crisp shock that'll wake the dead. It was a
I don't
good
know.
flavor.
My mom gave me 7 Up when I was sick.
We
Yeah.
got ginger ale. We got ginger ale when we was sick.
Yeah. Oh
But
man.
no, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I wanted to show my favorite panel, which Scott does speed crashes really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
I moved and I'm not with it today, so I'm trying my best. So I'm working off my phone and my tablet. My signal's not great and my sound is not awesome. So
Oh
that's
yeah,
why
the
I
the speed
apologize.
crash with the kids hitting the
This
people.
one,
Oh yeah, that's a beautiful picture right there. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I can't really get the glare off my tablet off my screen, but yeah, that is just it's an awesome page.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the police crash, I believe it was in the second chapter. It's just he knows how to tell stories with automobiles, like in short doses, and it's
Yeah.
pretty cool. So yeah,
And that's the thing is that he consistently has like, fight scenes, car crashes, he's like, this is what the 80s was, fight scenes and car crashes.
Yeah, and speaking of, like, is that not Starsky and Hutch? Like,
right.
100%. I love it, man. I love it, man. Like, I find myself just like fanning through these pages and looking for stuff because it's just like, it's a period of time just like you would have a story set in medieval times.
Yeah, see how many little Easter eggs that he might have put in there.
It's awesome. I imagine, like, medieval times buffs can find things in movies that are set in that time, but it's like, that's where I'm from. You know what I mean? So it's like, I love these books. Like, the 80s nostalgia is just as much of a part of it as the zombies and the fighting for me, man. It's just, these are such fun chapters. Like, go pick up this book, y'all. Like, go
all four of them.
Scott's website, circworks.com. Pick up this book. Like, it's a fun read. It's a fast read. Like, it's not, I don't know, man. It's just, it's the right kind of, it's a can of Coke classic. You know what I mean? Like, pop the tab, and it's just like, it does the job every time. So, no, another well played chapter. I enjoyed it. This time I'm kind of like, y'all need to read this book. Like, yes, we gave you the gist of it, man, but this is a good chapter. For this chapter in the book, I'm probably gonna say an 8.5. It was good. I liked it better than the last couple of chapters. I've liked every chapter, but this was another one. Like, I feel like this one and the last one kind of stuck together because the writing was so well. I want to go back and read it again, like when my brain is not so tired, because it was fun. But I also know that there were things that I missed, and I wanna like, this has been a fun ride.
All right, I'm gonna go with a 9.
So
I'm gonna go with a 9. I went with 9 the last time because I like the origin setup with the whole Lazarus, and I'm going with the 9 for this one because I liked how this one had like a lot of action in it with the car crashes. You got a chance to see the kids really do a lot of action. You saw the sister doing action. Just a lot of stuff was going on and a lot of cool things. So
you got every character was a viable fighter. Like, these kids are tough. None of them are afraid.
Even the little brother with his stuffed animal,
he's still doing it. Like, he's loaded it up the last time. He's swinging it, man. So this has been a fun chapter. So all right. So what's next, man?
All right. Well, next I'll have to what next is that we'll just have to wait for Scott to come on.
Awesome. That's right. We got Scott tonight. So there's a burning question. Like, it's
there he is. There he is.
Is he here? Excellent.
Hey guys.
Hey Scott.
Hey Scott. How you doing?
How you guys doing? Hey Jason, congratulations on the new place, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Big deal, man. It's like, it's a day for breaking cycles, but I didn't want to miss the call either. So
I appreciate it. No, it wouldn't be the same without you here. So
I appreciate it, man. No, so I'm just gonna jump in because I just got a question. As a creator,
yes,
you obviously went through some 80s background. Like, that's our era, but you have attention to detail on this. I love to write and I love to draw, but I draw slowly. How much time did you spend on how much time did you devote to your research on just like the 80s stuff before you said, okay, I have enough to tell my story now?
Quite a bit. Like, a lot of times it's just making a list on what are the things that really need to be in a comic like this in the 80s. So like in this issue that you just reviewed, like the arcade was a big one. If you're going to do 80s, you got to have an arcade. You know, then there was the treehouse and the different locations, a lot of that stuff. And then, you know, even like the snacks and things. So I figured, you know, I want to show some of those snacks, like the potato skins and the Whistle Pops and all that stuff. So then I kind of decided I'll have a scene where one character goes to a convenience store. So there's all these little things that I'll make a big list of.
Yep.
And then I'll figure, and hopefully I can make them work with the story. I don't want to force anything, but so it's just a matter of, you know, I listen to, it's kind of a weird, probably a weird comparison, or now what's the word I'm searching for? I don't know, but like a weird inspiration. But I'm a big fan of like Weird Al's music, and if you ever listen to his songs, it seems like he does. I don't know for sure, but it seems like he does the same thing. Like if he's doing a song about a certain subject, it seems like he just must make a huge list of all of the things, all the funny things that go with that particular subject, and then he finds a way to weave them into a song.
Right. Yeah,
so I kind of do that too.
They're the little things that everybody will chuckle about that is knowledgeable about this subject.
Yeah.
So that you know that I know what I'm talking about. No, it's just like sliced soda. Like who thinks of that? Like I'm like, okay, I'm with it now, because it's like that was it. You know, it was sliced. My mom used to drink Faygo and Tap, and
and they had Slice had like tons of different flavors. They had like apple slice and all kinds of crazy flavors.
It was like Crush, but the flavors were just a little bit more funky, like an early Fanta almost.
Yeah, the big draw was it had 10% juice in it. That was the big draw.
It was inspired by juice, you know. That's why apple flavor is green, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So but thank you for letting us review it. I hope we did it justice.
Oh man, it's just been a blast hearing you guys talk about it. I was a little nervous at first because I'm like, oh, I hope they like it, because there's a lot of things that, because I think I'm a decent enough writer, but you know, I never know when, you know, if I don't know how it would hold up to scrutiny, you know. And it's also not supposed, and I've talked about this before, I think on the Artcast or whatever, but it's not supposed to be, you know, it's based on the Goonies, which I love that movie. It's great, but it's not like high art or anything. So, you know, as long as people understand what it is trying to be and kind of the feel I'm going for, you know.
Well, yeah, I got it immediately because it was like, this was, you know, renting the VHS that looks like a briefcase, and, you know, getting two regular movies and one movie that you wasn't really supposed to have. I loved it, man. I thought it was a blast.
That big, because I think that was in the last issue. I had the top loading. You got to push that thing down and it makes that big clank. Yeah, and even the buttons you had to like push down. And it was like clunk, clunk.
Right. Yeah. And you always try to sneak and like watch that one last movie after your parents went to bed, but the buttons were like had typewriter key speakers on them, so it was like bam, bam, bam.
Yeah,
man, those your work was impeccable, and it's like, as a writer and as somebody who's just getting started, your videos were some of the first that I found. So you've been a part of my journey over the past 13 to 15 months. So I appreciate what you do.
That's
I
awesome.
always watch your videos, and like you've helped me immensely. So much. This was really cool to be able to review one of your books. So. Yeah,
man, it's awesome. It's awesome.
I'll try to make something equally as cool soon.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see what you guys do.
All right, what you got, Ronnie? You got any questions? I don't want to hog all the time.
Oh, no, it's all right. It's all right. So with the Young and the Dead, with most people going up with a comic book with like just one.
I just want to clarify something real quick, because it's kind of a common mistake. It's not a big deal, but it's a lot of people say The Young and the Dead. It's just Young and the Dead because there's kind of a dual meaning to it, where it's the kid's name, last name is Young. So but that's just a little thing I actually bring up. So,
gotcha.
Anyway, sorry.
No, it's all right. So with the characters, with most comics, you know, they want to start off with just a couple characters, but you wanted to go with like the Goonies type of style. With like anyone starting off with comics, how would you teach them to approach starting off writing a group of characters with such a big storyline like you did?
That's a good question. Yeah,
it is kind of tough, and it's you know, I like kind of group stories, and to me, I like, and hopefully when the story wraps up in the next issue or two, and which will be a little while because I just haven't even started because there's so much other stuff going on in the world right now. But my goal is like, and this isn't necessarily the way it is in life, but if I introduce characters, I want them each to have at least their moment. You know, I want them each to have some effect on the, you know, whatever the end result of the story or the plot or whatever.
You definitely did that.
I think, and I think you'll see more of that when, you know, I don't think it's any secret that eventually all the characters will sort of converge together again. So yeah, I mean, that's a big part, just knowing, you know, first of all, the different character traits of each character. A lot of these characters are based loosely on people I knew that I grew up with. The main character is sort of loosely based on myself. The younger brother, I had a younger brother. The kind of the one kid that was reading the Playboy magazine, that was like my best friend growing up. He was like a little perv, and so a lot of the characters are, you know, are based on, you know, either a certain person or amalgam of a few different people. So I try to get the personality traits and kind of figure out how they're going to interact, and that really helps with like the dialogue and everything. So I know which one of these people are going to clash. There's the brother and sister who are kind of off on their own right now. He's kind of the jock and everything. And I wanted that. I like the idea of, you got this jock who's sort of the popular kid and everything. And then sort of the nerdy kid Lloyd that's, you know, he's building Thor's hammer and wood shop, and he's really into D&D. I wanted to have this is an entirely new world where now the nerdy kid is the one that kind of knows what to do, because he's the one that watches all the zombie movies, listens to, you know, Dio and all this kind of stuff. So he knows all about this fantasy stuff and this crazy stuff that's going on, where the popular kid who, he had the world at his fingertips before. Now he's kind of in this, like, my world is gone now, so I don't really know what to do. So they're kind of at odds and everything. And then, you know, the girl Ox, I wanted her. I wanted the tough kid. I also wanted, you know, every kind of Goonies, Monster Squad, they all have kind of the overweight kid. It's usually a boy. I wanted to kind of flip that and make it a girl. But I also wanted to introduce the element of, you know, in the 80s, it was Cold War and everything. So I wanted to make her Russian, and I wanted there to be some conflict, like the one kid's accusing her of being a Russian spy and all this stuff. So those type of things, different things that were in the 80s, I kind of wanted to incorporate. And you know, of course I did, right now they're kind of split up. And the reason why I did that, it's kind of hard when you've got this big group to kind of make them shine all at the same, you know,
all at once.
So I kind of did the Empire Strikes Back, where they kind of split off, and then they'll kind of eventually get back together. And then some characters, like, honestly, the one stepsister, the one that's on the little scooter, she was originally, she wasn't going to come back. It was kind of going to be up in the air. And then I just started thinking about her, and I'm like, she's kind of a fun character, because she's another one of those characters who's kind of like, you know, all kind of grow, because the other two female characters are kind of tough. And I wanted one that was kind of like almost, you know, this is gross, and this is this type of thing. But so I kind of decided to bring her back. Plus, the way I kind of left her, I kind of felt bad, because you didn't really know her fate, whether she was going to get eaten by her dad. And there's also a reason, because I needed to start introducing the fact that these zombies aren't the same as they are in other zombie stories. They have this regenerative property.
With the Lazarus.
So the whole idea was that they were trying to cure and regenerate cells. So that happens. The problem is there's sort of a time limit. Like they'll like when, and I'm throwing a bunch of stuff out at once, but I didn't want the kids to really have guns or anything. So I came up with this kind of concept that they couldn't really be killed. You know, they would just sort of regenerate, even if you shot them in the head or whatever. The only way to temporarily stop them is like just a blunt force to the head, and then that would kind of knock them out. And then that's the point where I think you saw in the last issue, you kind of see her dad sort of regenerating, but it's quick and it goes back. So ultimately the idea is, in order to cure them, you've got to stop it, right? You got to find something that stops them, before they start to go back again. And that there's sort of a window that's closing. So I don't know if that'll become a little more clear. And there's a lot more to come. Really, there's a lot of big reveals coming up and everything. But so I needed to introduce that, and I thought that would be a good idea to show the dad and everything, and kind of you see that. You also, some minor spoilers. You see a little more of that. You saw in the end of this episode where the one zombie's arm got cut off. Yeah. Right now it's in that ice cream truck in the freezer. So you may see something crazy happen with that arm.
Awesome.
So different things like that. So I'm trying to drop little hints as to what's going on, and then in the end, it'll start to make sense. And there's like Easter eggs and little things in there that you may not think are important that will come back in the end.
Awesome.
So I know I kind of went away from your what you were asking about the different characters and everything, but
no, it's all right. It's all right.
Yeah, no, I think that all works together. It's cool because you when you say that, your chapters are made to you linger on the panels a little bit longer because you do have so much cool stuff in the background, or you do want to look at someone's T-shirt a little bit longer to see if you recognize the logo. I didn't see Panama Jack. That was my only 80s reference that I was thinking of. But that's kind of hard to pull off on a T-shirt on a character. But it's like Panama Jack and Ocean Pacific were crazy popular in North Carolina in the early 80s.
Yeah, see, Panama Jack was one that I was familiar with it, but it wasn't anything I wore or any of my friends did. OP was a big thing. I don't remember if I put any OP in
I think
any of those
Panama Jack was kind of it was probably more of a regional thing in certain places. There were so many things. We had sodas that nobody else had. Every other place did. Up here, there's Moxie, and nobody hates Moxie, but me from North Carolina, I can't get enough of it. It's I don't know, it's kind of like birch beer, but it's really, really good.
See, I didn't even know that was still around. I thought it was just an old soda that was kind of back in the day, and then
it's still here. They still make it the same way and everything.
I have seen it. I have seen it in the special soda shops. We've got Rocket Fizz and stuff out here. Candy shops with all kinds of sodas, and I have seen Moxie there. So
it's not for everybody, but it's two of the four of us like it. But no, it's those are the cool things of your story, Scott. Was you reward the people who pay attention to your story, and that counts for a lot, and it should make more sense when you're finishing a story that maybe doesn't have a produced ending yet, but there's enough there that I'm I can go back and read these 4 chapters and find more things in them, and I'll appreciate the next 2 chapters even more. So it's cool.
Yeah, and I can address Van Illustration's question. And I talked about this. This is a major thing with me. I've talked about it in Making Comics 101 and everything, but as far as longer projects, especially if you're just getting started, start small. Don't take on with your first project. Don't take on a big project like that. What you can't do. Because originally, I'll kind of go back. So originally, Young and the Dead was just supposed to be a real quick 8-pager. Okay. Which that's following my own advice, which I didn't really do, but but it started out as it was another Kevin Cross challenge called the Mini Comics Dump Truck, where a bunch of artists got together, made mini comics, and then they would trade them back and forth with everyone else that did the challenge. So it was supposed to be 8-page, and then and the reason why I picked Kids versus Zombies was I just thought it was, this is easy, this is just there's nothing to it. Kids versus Zombies, it'd be fun little 8-page story. But then when I started getting into it, I was like, no, there's more to it. There's more to these characters, and I really liked it. So then I decided, maybe this is going to be a series or like a graphic novel. But I specifically, even though ultimately I want this to be collected as one volume. The reason why it's single issues because I just knew it would take me so long, and I didn't want to just make the whole thing and then put it out. You gotta have those benchmarks. So if you are working on a longer project, you've got to have some sort of benchmark, or else typically the project is just too big and overwhelming for you to get done. So, you know, and even if you want to tell something in the same world as your big story, do like just a little side story and get a feel for it. Once you get that done, then you can make a little bit of a longer story, or just kind of find a way to break up your larger story into smaller chunks. That way, at least you have something, because you have to have something that you can put out, or you know, that you can call done, or else it's just going to. Very few people. I mean, there's exceptions to every rule, but 9 times out of 10, especially if you're just getting started, if you're trying to do this big story, you're going to fail. So, you know, that's my. If there was one piece of advice I give to any comic artist starting out is don't bite off more than you can chew. Start small, and then the next one get a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger. Plus, you're gonna kind of learn as you go, because one thing you'll see with people, especially if they happen to be one of these 1% of people that start with this big long story, and maybe they're just learning as they go. You'll look back and the beginning pages aren't going to look anywhere as good as the last pages. It's just going to look different, you know? So it's always good to kind of, I think, just start smaller. And so.
Now, do you write, like on a project like this, do you write the entire thing before you start drawing it out? Or do you just kind of do a little bit of both? As you go?
So I've got just basically, I know how it's going to end, but I don't know how all the pieces are going to fit together. So I've got like a Evernote thing, and I've got all, you know, I kind of know where the location is going to end, which you kind of already can probably guess that. I mean, just kind of saw at the end of this one, but there's that little epilogue and different things like that. So I know all these little pieces, but then it's just a matter of how do I get all these pieces to come together and so it makes sense. And one thing I always worry about is like plot holes and things like that. So hopefully I don't miss anything. But it's tough, you know. There's a lot of other things that you're in the zone and you don't even consider. And there's a few things I need to kind of go back, like the main character is he's carrying, like, for one, I don't know if you noticed, but he's carrying like this portable CD thing.
His father's document.
CB. Well, the documents, and he's got a CB so you can communicate with the other people. And I think there's a couple scenes where I have them going from one place to another, and you don't see him with a bag. Yeah. So I may have to, when I do put it together, I may have to go back in and draw that just so it's so it's like where did you get this little portable CB players? You know, so CB radio or whatever. So
no, I could definitely tell, like, your art, I felt like, has been consistent through the whole thing. But there was a point in the last, not this week, but the last chapter, and I think I even said it last week, where I was like, okay, Scott was in his shit when he was writing right here. Like, you could tell, like, your writing had just kind of like dominated those chapters to where it was like I found myself going back and looking at the artwork later because I was just reading, which as a writer, I think that's what you want. Like, that's you, like, getting a stand-up double all day long, you know. And it's like, I feel like when I'm writing like that, like, I can tell any story. And when you have those points, that makes, I've really enjoyed reading this. Like, I really, really have. Like, it's been a blast.
Thanks. Yeah, the last issue, there was, I think the issue previous to the one you just reviewed today, there was a lot more exposition. I wanted to kind of reveal some of where this all came from, the origin. And because of that, I'm definitely guilty of this, but there's a lot of type on some of those pages. There's a lot of copy. So that's why this issue, it's pretty much all action. There's not a whole lot of lengthy explanations, because the next issue, there's going to be more reveals, and I'm going to have to, there's going to be some more explanations and things that I got to put in there. So I try to break it up a little bit.
As a writer, I don't mind a lot of dialogue. And
same here.
I don't either, but
in the first 2 chapters, you didn't adhere to the same old try to keep a low number of panels on each page. Like some pages had like 12 panels,
especially when the kid was going to sleep, and the dinner scene. Very great.
And the key to that, I think, if you are going to break the rules and do a lot of panels, there has to be a reason for it. And the reason in that particular scene is I wanted to show sort of that monotony of all these this family sitting at the dinner table, just time passing slowly, and because of that, the more panels. Now, if I was just trying to cram a bunch of stuff in because I needed to fit it in for no other reason than I got to try to fit all this stuff in, and had like 15 panels on a page that way, probably not the best way to go about that. So if you are going to sort of break the mold and everything, because rules are made to be broken, but you have to know what you're doing. You can't just break them.
It's been really good composition, and I think that kind of lends itself to what you're explaining on those early pages. Is you have a kid dozing off watching TV. Had you done a splash at dinner right before that, you would have had like a rowdy dinner table, but you just established that, okay, remember when you were 11 and like dinner was just awkward? Like it was just dinner, but it was the last place that you wanted to be. Like you couldn't have wanted to be with anybody less than those people at that dinner table.
And he went off and watched his version of Vincent Price.
And that TV, that was my TV. That little black and white TV. That was my TV with the rabbit ears. Yeah, I had
even now you could still watch like horror movie hosts. Like down here in Florida, you could watch Spanguli.
All that stuff. That's another one of those things I just had to put in there. And there's some little nods. Oh, the other thing I want to, because some people, this is it's not really a spoiler because I don't want people to think this, but there are some people that think at that scene where he kind of falls asleep that it's all a dream, and it's not a dream. It's all real. Just because a lot of people say, "Oh, I get it. Yeah, he fell asleep, and now it's all a dream." Because I did throw in that little thing where it's talking about he's reading, like he's got War of the Worlds and everything. And I just wanted to show that that he's kind of in that paranoia where there was the novel War of the Worlds, and then there was the radio play where people actually thought that aliens were attacking. So that might throw people off a little bit. I just want to show that he was kind of in his paranoia, so he might be thinking that this is all fake and stuff, but no. So that's why he kind of fell asleep. He was tired. But I assume if you actually 100% thought some of the stuff was going down, you might not be going to sleep. But he's probably thought, this is right. But,
and with the zombie designs and references more, were you trying to go with like more of that like Return of the Living Dead, where you actually wanted them to be intelligent instead of like brainless?
Well, they're not really intelligent, and you'll find out a little more. I'll give a little kind of minor spoiler, is that the zombies are basically, they can say certain things, but they're not really intelligent, but it's like synapses firing like certain memories and things that they have. And it's usually the one thing, whatever their personality was or whatever drove people most is kind of what that zombie is on their mind. In 99% of the cases, it's going to be hunger. It's going to be food, because that's the basic necessity of life.
Yeah. Right.
You may see in the future that in the other issues that's not always the number one thing, and there may be different kinds of zombies. I'll say that. Right. That's all I'm going to say right now. But so
gonna have a boss? No.
Well, no, I won't give too much away. But you did. I will allude to this. That remember, if you saw the end of this one, remember in the beginning where there's somebody feeding the zombies in that weird facility, and they push the brain under, and the zombie, whatever was in that room, didn't want that brain, flew it out. Yeah. So that's all I'm going to say. But
they're mutating.
Yeah. So, but so I wanted something like I kind of like the talking zombies. I don't want them to like say full sentences, but it's usually you hear them say brains, or I think like. There was another thing they said, I forgot what it was, more like meat or something. It's like things like that. And then other than that, it's mostly growls and guttural groans and things like that. So.
Yeah. So how did you do, like, you have two really cool crash scenes. Like there was one in this chapter where the RV hit the zombies, but then the best one was the police car crash. I believe that was in I think it was in the first chapter.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of time goes, like, those were awesome panels. Like, what kind of time do you spend, like, in a zombie book to obviously, like, work and get these cars nailed down? and make it feel like a real car crash.
Yeah, it was a lot of research, and not just because you can look up cop cars and stuff like that, or I've seen cop cars.
Yep.
I haven't never been arrested, but I've been in the back of a cop car just for like, they do the things where you get to go to like community events or something. They've got a cop car there, but those are like modern cop cars. I got to find what did the cop car look like in the 70s or the 80s.
Yeah.
And and then there was the whole scene where and I didn't know, well, okay, so they're going to pick up this guy, Sam's dad, who's the scientist, the biologist. Would they, these are special circumstances because it's it's an apocalypse, but would they and escorted him? Would they put him in the back of a cop car, or how would that work? So, and then once he's back there, I'm like, well, he's trapped there. How does he call for help? Because those doors lock, he can't get out. So that's the reason that's pretty much the only reason why he's got that bum leg. And you saw in the previous issue where the monkey attacked him, but because he needed to have that cane so he could push that CB and talk. So a lot of these things, like, it's just like, okay, he's trapped back here. How does he get out? And then that will inform, like, okay, he's got to have this cane. He's got to have some way to push that, go through that little thing and push that CB thing so he can talk. So different things like that. So it's a lot of research and finding out, how does CB work? And some of it I'm still not sure about, like when they're listening in the treehouse, how the dispatch works, because the cop that's driving the cop car that he's with him now, that's the father of the boy and the girl, the jock and Rocky and Stephanie. Yeah. So it was just like, is that possible for the kids to listen in on that type of thing? So, I asked some friends who are cops of different things, like, would this make sense? And, that, but it's all, for as far as there's a lot of reference involved, I found pictures of, and I get squeamish. So when I'm Googling car crashes, I'm always worried.
Oh, I can't imagine. Right.
So I was like, half one eye, half closed, like, okay, this one doesn't have any body parts or anything like that. But just look at what different crashes look like, and that type of thing, and what kind of cop cars did they have back then, and that type of thing.
Yeah, because just doing a lot of your
favorite panels in the whole story.
Yeah, a lot of your action scenes are like really good. Like even with the kids zip lining out of the tree, like just really great shots. And I guess you just did a lot of research on how like they would look like zip lining and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, some of that's just, I'll sit here and I'll like, what would it look like if I'm posed like this? And then I just kind of draw. I'll do like some gesture drawings and kind of get pretty close and everything. So
And with the gore and the zombie, like how long did it take you to like really decide, like, okay, this is the way I want my zombies to look?
Yeah. So I wanted them to be menacing. I wanted them to be, the kids to feel threatened, even though in the beginning it was kind of like that they didn't really seem to be as interested in the younger kids. But then the whole idea is that once they've exhausted the eating, basically eating all the adults, what's left. So now it's at the point where they are in danger and everything, because there's not too many adults around anymore. So that was another kind of thing that I decided that I wanted to give them a little bit of an advantage, but not too much. So there was that, and then, I wanted them to be menacing enough, but still somewhat humorous, And I also like the idea of you've got these kids who are basically in a lot of ways, helpless, not helpless, but compared to what's going on around them.
Right. Of course.
I wanted the zombies, because I could have went with more cartoony zombies, even more cartoony,
Oh yeah.
But I didn't want that, because I wanted there to be an actual threat there. So.
So my last question, just kind of piggybacking off of Ronnie's about the zombies. It's a genre that's been done in almost every imaginable way that you can think of.
Yeah.
But you had a few little things that you did that made your zombie story a little bit different. So how do you decide, like, when you're tackling like an age-old villain like zombies, how do you decide what's a good enough wrinkle without going over the top. You know what I mean? Like, because it's easy just to say, I'm going to have zombies that do this. And it's like, who cares if a zombie can, you know, play piano? But it's like, so what do you decide is just enough to make it different and still be relatable? Yeah.
So I'm definitely partial to the Romero shambling zombies rather than the kind of virus, you know, like real fast zombies. So that was the first thing that they had to have. The other thing is that they gotta want to eat brains, you know. So the kind of to me those are the core things, and then you know I kind of flipped it around a little as far as the fact that they, you know, they can regenerate, and you know that you'll see a little more of that as we go on. But because I needed there to be hope too, because this is kind of a kid's story, so I needed there to at least be the idea that there may be some way that they can help, not only save the people that are still alive, but maybe hopefully reverse the effects and bring people back to normal. Because it's a kid's story. So, you know, I don't want, you know, I want there to be a chance that they can bring the people back. So, and that's kind of the goal. But I also wanted to create a ticking time bomb, so they don't have all the time in the world, because that window between, because you heard the cop kind of asking how long it took for them to turn back, and the doctor saying so, and then that, you know, that basically says that the time's running out. That window between the time that they can kind of go back to normal before they start to reverse and go back to zombies again is closing fast. So and pretty soon that won't even be a window, you know. It'll just be zombies no matter what. So
such a cool book, man. Like I really enjoyed it.
Really great work.
I appreciate you coming
I enjoyed
on.
it.
You're our first celebrity guest.
I
really appreciate that. That's awesome.
I appreciate you coming on.
And I appreciate you pushing the time back, because yesterday just wouldn't have worked. So I'm glad I got to be a part of it.
Oh yeah, like I said, I wouldn't have wanted to do it without you. So
no, we definitely appreciate it. This was a fun one. So I hate that I wasn't with it, but this is like the best reason ever for me to like be at like 60%. So
you
know, so it's been a good week. Like it's been a really good week. So
awesome.
This was a nice bow at the end of it. It was nice to talk comments. This like now gives me another reason to start drawing in my new house now. So it's like
and hit me up. Hit me up if you have any questions or anything. And also, you know, I'm eventually gonna do like a Making Comics 101 live. So depending on your schedule, you know, it's the idea is that people can ask me questions live, and I can kind of, you know, do that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so
I'd love to be a part of something like that. That would be really, really cool. So I am going to go unpack some more cardboard and fold it up into smaller cardboard. So
so I don't know if we were going to go after for just a few seconds, but if we're not, let me just. I wanted to get you guys to come on the Artcaster, so if we can schedule that.
I would love to.
I know it's probably late where you guys are. That's our biggest problem, is that because we do it late for us. I mean, we start at 9 Pacific time, and then anyone either on the East Coast or whatever.
I'll do it. I don't mind doing it one night.
Not a problem.
I think that would be fun.
Yeah, it'd be cool to kind of get you both on together and everything. And
for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. So I don't know. You want to sign us out?
Yeah, not a problem.
No,
I got one more. I got one more question. So
go for it. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
How many more issues are you planning to like do with Young and the Dead?
So it's either going to be 1 or 2. I'm imagining that if it's 1, it's going to have to be like either double size or bigger than a single issue.
Gotcha.
If it doesn't go 2, because like I said, I know exactly how it's going to end. It's just a matter of once I kind of start putting the pieces together, how many pages it's going to take to tell that story. So it could be 1, it could be 2. And like I said, unfortunately, you know, with COVID and everything, I'm kind of changing my business model. So I'm kind of, you know, I'm kind of going in a new direction. And the sad thing about comics is they typically don't make a lot of money. So I have to put it on the back burner until I can kind of get everything else up and running. And then once I get to that point, I am just seriously, I am just dying to get back to work on it. I really do, though, need to sit down when I do have some free time and just kind of start plotting things out, because I wanted to do another run of the 100 days making comics or something, and have that. I was going to do it the first of the year, and then it kind of got pushed back, and then all this other stuff happened. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely 2020 has been a lot. Like, this has been the most unpredictable year I've ever been a part of. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think everything.
All right.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Man,
all right.
Everybody came
I'll end
by.
it here.
I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah. Thank you all in the chat. Got some new subscribers coming by. Appreciate that. And for next week, we're gonna start reviewing Blood Realm by Guillermo Draws. He's been on Marshall's channel, so that's gonna be great. And thank you again for Scott coming on the channel.
Yeah, Scott.
Again,
thank you, man.
I'm Ronnie Gunter, Crimson Owl Comics. My co-host, Fogbreaker Studios, Jason Alexander, and you can find Scott's stuff all in the link description. See y'all next Friday. Bye.
Bye.